Hey guys, RJ here, and after last week's amazing episode of The Expanse, Season 2, Episode 5, I thought it was only right that I go ahead and do a theory video on a few different things in the show that I've had some question marks over, and obviously some that we got huge questions about at the end of last episode. So that being said, stay tuned because we're going to dive into some really cool stuff for The Expanse. So let's go ahead and get started right now. So guys, this should go without saying, but there are spoilers ahead. If you have not seen Season 2, Episode 5 of The Expanse, go watch all of it, come back, then enjoy the theory video. So guys, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this. I have two main questions today that I kind of want to discuss. And this isn't so much as a straight up theory video as it is more of an informal discussion with you guys. So I want to know your thoughts down below. Let me know down in the comments. Let me know your theories, what you think is going to happen. And please, if you have read the books, no spoilers. I'll automatically remove those comments. So don't speculate. Don't hint for people. I'm just trying to keep it regular for the people that are watching the TV show and haven't read the book. So, but now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the first thing on the list here, which is one, the protomolecule. We do not know that much information about it as the viewer, and the only person that actually does know a ton about it inside of the universe is already dead. He was Dresden. He was the lead lead doctor for this team at Protogen that, ended up finding the protomolecule at Phoebe Station. He helped run the experiments on Eros. He tracked Julie Mao everywhere, who, was Jules Pierre, Mao's daughter. And in general, he, basically you could think of him as the brain of this operation. He's kind of the top dog on the scientific engineering side. He says, he states when he's trying to bargain, he says, I've encrypted all the data, nobody else can read it, blah, blah, blah. And, he tries to make himself like unexpendable. And obviously, if you've seen episode 1 or 2, you saw that Joe Miller was having none of that shit. So he put that to rest, and kind of putting to rest with him were a lot of the secrets that we could have known about the protomolecule. But let's talk about the things we do know. Dresden talks about the beginning of the experiment, how it was found. Basically, they were at Phoebe Station. They ended up finding the protomolecule. And here's where things start to get a little interesting, because we're kind of supposed to take everything Dresden says at face value, like everything he's saying to Holden and Miller. And honestly, at the end of this, I'm not sure if we can trust anything that he's actually telling us. He tells us someone sent it here, which we don't know if someone purposely sent it here. It could have, come off of a ship or something, but he says someone purposely sent it here, which we don't have any confirmation of. There's no factual basis for this. He also says that it was sent here to Earth as a target, and I find that very interesting because he doesn't give any context to it. He's just stating something that the Earth is the target of the protomolecule. But I'm starting to wonder is if there was this superhuman or super alien race that has obviously way higher levels of technology than the Earth does, then how are they so far off? Why did it land near Phoebe Station or whatever? Why wasn't it shot directly into Earth and Earth became infected and all organic life became part of the protomolecule? But it didn't. They found it there. It wasn't active really. It wasn't within any host yet or anything like that as far as we know. So I think there's definitely some questionable things in his statements about that. But I do want to talk about the things that it is capable of. I mean, we've seen things like it can move Eros Station when Julie Mao was driving it. It literally moved an entire comet and with pretty much no engine capabilities whatsoever. So there's a lot of things with gravity and space that we just do not understand, that the protomolecule can kind of bend these rules one way or the other, and we don't really understand how or why. I'm guessing it's using whatever biomass it kind of intook from the people of Eros. I'm thinking that's the energy source it gathers and uses for these kind of tricks that it plays. But I think Alex says it best in the last episode that we saw is we have all of these kind of notions of the protomolecule, we're thinking, oh, it can't do this, it can't do this. How is it accelerating this comet faster than the Rosinante can as a ship that has a warp drive and stuff? Every time we try to think and nail it down in a box, it ends up, bending some other way. And it's another thing where Joe Miller says, move the nukes out of the way. I have to be able to convince Julie. Otherwise, the protomolecule is going to make it to Earth. It's going to hit Earth. It's going to wipe everybody out because that's its end goal as far as he can tell. And even, the Julie Mao thing where she's driving the bus and she's trying to get home. But I think the protomolecule obviously knew what it was doing, because otherwise it probably would have started to protect itself. So on top of that, after the discovery happened, they started basically trying to apply it to different things. And Dresden says that you can apply it to anything. So I'm not sure if that means like machinery and organic life forms and inorganic life forms. I'm not sure exactly. We can see it in this episode inside of Eros. It's kind of attached to everything. But I don't know if it like actually interacts with electronics in the way that we kind of think it would, like an input-output. So I think there's some questions there to be answered as well, which obviously we're not going to get from Dresden. But the one remaining person on his team was Cortazar, which has turned into a huge set of memes, which I'm fine with, because I think he's like, obviously, all seriousness aside, I think he's a hilarious character. He gives zero shits about anyone because part of his brain was magnetized. Yeah, so I like him as a character. I think he's interesting. I think he brings like a very good, like, why would you care about that? Why would you do this? He has no emotions whatsoever. It's a perfect balance for things like Holden and Miller, who are way too emotional. And yeah, he does a good job of balancing scenes. But point is, he's the only one left that can actually work with the data. You know, like he scrolls through the device that he's using and getting the data in from Eros, and that's when he starts like triangulating the signal and stuff, and you hear like the protomolecule talking. So he's kind of the last one available. He's our last stop for information. So when it's heading to Earth, when Eros is heading to Earth and it's getting closer, he ends up stating that, you know, it's flowering, it's going to bloom. And there's a lot of questions there that I'm not going to get into yet, because I think it could lead me down a path that I have absolutely no idea about until I receive more information. I'm just going to kind of skip that comment because there's a lot of implications with that. So point is, what we get from next week's episode's preview is that the Mars team is now going to maybe get involved with an alien life form of sorts. So my question is one, is this just another experiment by Protogen or another company working under Mao? Like, is this just another of their experiments that's gotten awry, and is it with the protomolecule? Or could it be that possibly this is the alien species that actually sent the protomolecule to Earth? And my other question with that is if it's a super intelligent alien life form that clearly can deal with this, why would it just leave it somewhere in the middle of nowhere? Why not just go conquer whatever species that you're dealing with? And that's where like these issues with Dresden's speech kind of start bothering me a little bit. When you actually start diving down into it, you're like, none of this really adds up. Who just leaves this super weird virus molecule thing in the middle of nowhere? Is it like a target locker beam for them? I don't know. I think that there's parts missing to his story, and I'm not sure we're going to find anything out about that until we actually see the protomolecule in a different form. On to the second subject of this video, and this one definitely hit hard last week, and I think a lot of you probably agree. Joe Miller is by far one of my favorite characters in this show. As I've stated many times, he's a great character that can basically play either side of the fence. And in episode 5, we're kind of led to believe that his time on the show is over. And this could very well be the truth. Maybe, okay, so they're wanting us to believe that he dies on the asteroid for his friends, for the Earth, for Julie, for a million different reasons, probably, that he ends up choosing to stay with her for love. You know, I think there's a lot of options behind his thinking there. But I want to go over some things from other shows that really make me think that he might not be dead. And I know that it's really hard to say that a man isn't dead when the asteroid that he was on ends up crashing into Venus. But once again, we go back to Alex's statement where you do not know what the protomolecule is capable of. We have a mindset going into this where we think it's capable of one thing. It could somehow absorb Venus for all we know, okay? Like, it could absorb all the energy in Venus and then maybe starts creating humans or other life forms from the energy within that. And that's the thing is Dresden says it can repurpose things, and maybe it's going to repurpose Venus as its like main energy source or something like that. So Joe Miller, is he alive? The show wants to tell us no, but I'm inclined to think yes. And here's why. Because in a lot of shows, especially since Game of Thrones happened, a lot of people, for speculation of who's alive and who's dead, they use, did you actually see them die? Did you see their head get cut off? Did you see them explode? Did you see a knife go through them? And in this scene at the end of episode 5, all we get is the rock crashing into Venus, and we're zoomed out. And I just think it's really easy for us to kind of assume that he went down with the ship. I mean, Obviously the emotion in the scene and everything else kind of has us going towards that fact, but I think there's definitely a possibility that maybe like Julie and the protomolecule trying to save itself, maybe either brushes the impact off, maybe it like shifts everything to one part of the asteroid that wouldn't get damaged, or maybe it like put itself in a hardened cocoon to end up protecting him because maybe the protomolecule felt love for the first time. I don't know. There's a lot of options with this because the protomolecule was on board the asteroid. I think it's just really silly for us to assume that he's dead. And obviously, I don't want confirmation from anyone on the book side or whatever. This is just something I think that he might be alive. We didn't see him die on camera, and that is always leading me to believe that that person might still be alive. Whether or not that's true, and I'm just being hopeful, fine. That's fine. I'm allowed to be hopeful, okay? He's one of my favorite characters, and I don't want him to go away like this. I thought the drinking of the gin with Naomi and the whole gang, that hit me hard. I really don't want to see him leave. He's one of my favorite characters. I think he's pretty much like a fan favorite too, because he's always willing to like go out and do and say whatever he actually feels. And I think that's pretty rare for a character in a show like this. So, yeah, he will be missed if he actually is gone. But I'm really hoping that there was something else that happened there. Did Joe Miller end up making it off Eros? Maybe he got jettisoned by Julie or something and they're flying in a cocoon back towards Earth. I don't know. But that's my thought. I'm thinking that the protomolecule ended up protecting both of them, or maybe decided that Venus was like a great idea. Now we can absorb all of this energy or something. There's a lot of things that could have happened, and I think we're gonna have to wait until future episodes, maybe till the end of this season, maybe like episode 9 or 10, we'll actually find out, is he really dead? Is he part of the protomolecule now? Maybe him and Julie are like the beginnings of a new race. Like maybe they'll reproduce or something. I don't know what the protomolecule does for reproduction, so I can't answer you there. But I do see, they focus so much on these two characters throughout the show so far. I find it pretty hard to believe that they're just going to swipe the table. And if they did, good for them. Maybe they'll bring in new characters that we'll fall that much more in love with. But I really hope my boy Joe Miller is still alive. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really enjoy doing these Expanse videos. This show is fantastic. There's a lot of stuff to do theory videos on, so this is not going to be my last one for sure. There's a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of open-ended questions that we have in this show, so we're going to definitely discuss them in the future. And if you would, let me know down in the comments, what are your thoughts? Is Miller actually dead? Is he not? If you're a book reader, don't answer that. And what is the protomolecule? Is it actually a targeting beacon like Dresden said, or is it something else that we just do not understand yet? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you absolutely hate everything I say, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. That helps us out the most. There are social media links down in the description as well. Start a conversation separately there. And until next time, guys, we'll see you soon.